Hello everyone. Today I'm going to plant my melon plants in my container garden and I'm so excited. I grew melons, I don't know now if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And for each plant, I probably get 2, maybe 3 of the fruit from it. And so I stopped growing it because it does take up sort of a lot of room. The vines can get quite long. So I thought it took up too much space but wasn't productive enough. Then I really missed it, not just getting the melons, but also how the vines looked in my garden. I will put in a picture here if I can find it from a couple years ago. It just looked so beautiful. So I am going to plant today. Well, I have 3 cantaloupe plants and I have 4 watermelon plants. I don't know if I'm going to find a spot for all of them today, but I at least know where 4 of them are going to go. And then I'm also going to plant some other flowers as well. But let me go over the melons that I'm going to be planting today. First is my sugar baby watermelon. I got these from So Right Seeds. I have 4 total plants. And just in terms of, well, I'll go over spacing information. I'm probably not going to follow the spacing information, but it can be good to at least know what it is. So this one actually recommends 3 to 6 inches apart, which I think that's fantastic. So I'm going to kind of treat my melons sort of as I would treat a trailing petunia over my beds, where instead of the petunia draping over, I'm going to drape the melons over and then it'll vine just down on the deck. So that is going to be my plan for these, to put one in each corner and then figure out the spacing of the rest of the plants. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. They want full sun. The fruit will be 6 to 10 pound watermelons, sweet flesh and dull green rind. So that is the sugar baby watermelon. Then I have, I don't think I realized both of these had the word sugar in them, but I have the sugar cube cantaloupe. Now cantaloupe is probably my favorite melon, and I would say there is a difference between the taste of the cantaloupe and the watermelon that I grow in my garden versus the store, but the biggest taste difference I had was with a honeydew. I don't love it though still, so I'm not going to grow it, but between a grocery store honeydew, which doesn't taste like much to me, and a homegrown one, there was a very big difference. But with these cantaloupe, now these say they want to be planted about 18 inches apart. I'm not going to plant them that far apart. But again, I'm using each of these on the corner, so whatever is growing next to them will probably be a flower that's going vertical, not something else that's going to try to trail. So those are the 2 melons that I'm going to plant. Now in the bed where I'm going to put the cantaloupe, I already have 2 cosmos, which I think I'm going to move just forward a little bit in the bed, that I got from the garden center. Then I'm going to put in the back row these straw flowers, and these are cranberry rose from Johnny's Seed. I don't have a photo on this, so I'll put a photo up of what this will look like, but I got this because the color looks so pretty, and these are fantastic dried flowers. Just like Gomphrena, they look almost identical when they're dried to how they look in the garden. So spacing for these, well, first of all, height says 36 to 40 inches. The height on my melons, they're going to be trailing down, so I'm not even worried about that. So 36 to 40 inches, these are probably going to go in the back of the bed. And what does it say for spacing? 10 to 12 inches apart. I'm probably going to do 8. Now this does say that a trellis may be necessary to support the plants. I have grown strawflower in the same exact bed before, and the wall is right behind it. I didn't need any sort of support then, but I do think once everything is planted, I can use stakes that I have and then some twine if I think that they do need a little bit of support. So these are going to go in the back row. Then I'm also going to put in my tiny Tim tomatoes. So these I got to just tuck into the flower bed, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. This is everything I'm going to plant today, but it's not everything that I'm going to plant in that bed total. I'm going to figure out, once I put everything where I know I want it to go, then I'll look at my leftovers and see kind of where they fit in. But I'm going to go ahead and start planting this bed. I'm so excited to have my melons again. This is the bed where I'm going to put the cantaloupes in the corner. I'm going to put the straw flowers in the back, and then I'm going to mix in the tiny Tom tomatoes. I am going to move those 2 cosmos a little bit forward. They are 2 feet tall at their mature size, so they will be shorter than the straw flowers. So I'm probably going to move them right behind each of the melons that I plant. Now what was in this bed was lettuce, which I harvested all of that, removed all the root balls, tossed the root balls into my composter. There is a row of carrots in the front. I'm going to leave those there, and I'm just going to kind of plant around them. So this bed is from Grownomics. I've had this now, it was either my second or third bed I ever got for my garden, so it has been here quite a while. I did refresh the empty parts of the soil already. And then here, if you notice, that is oxalis. It just got here somehow, but it's growing out the crack in the bed, which I'm fine with because it's not like I'm planning to plant anything there anyway. But it did that same thing last year too, and there's yellow flowers on it, so it looks really pretty. So this is the bed I'm going to work in first, and then the watermelons are going to go in a different bed. With some of my larger plants, if I'm planting just one in a pot, I'll dig the hole and put granular fertilizer in it, but I've already just raked through some granular fertilizer throughout the bed since I'm going to be planting all over it. So these are like cantaloupes, and I'm going to put one, actually, let's put you back here. So these will get full sun. This is the part of my deck that gets sun first in the morning, and then it's usually in shade maybe by about 4 p.m. Then in the front in this corner is the other one. So I have a third one. I think I'm going to keep that as backup because I have, well, more on the garage deck, but things have been munching on my plants. So I'm going to leave the last one as my backup in case something happens to one of these two. And as I say that, the pigeons are flying by. How you doing? You have not eaten any of the plants in my garden, which I appreciate, unless you're about to do it. It is kind of nice to have friends out here when I garden, and they show up every time they hear my voice. It's been different ones. So there's two that I recognize from last year. Some of them look so similar, I can't tell them apart, and some of them are definitely new. So it's just fun to have some garden friends here. Now, what I'm going to do with the next bunch of plants is lay them out first to get an idea of where I want them to go. I know where the cantaloupes are going to go, so I want to figure out spacing. Before I do that, I'm just going to move these cosmos that I got from Gethsemane Garden Center. These are Sonata Carmine, and let me just double check that the height, height is 24 inches, so shorter than the straw flower. Now, you probably should try to make sure you're planting your plants in the right place at first, but I quite often will shift things around in my garden, and I've never really had an issue with it, so I don't care too much that I'm just popping these in a different position. Now, the cosmos I am growing that I started from seed, those should get quite large. I think they're going to get maybe to about 4 feet tall, so those are going in the back row in my back raised beds. Now, I know I want the straw flowers in the back row kind of evenly spaced. And then I'm thinking maybe a tomato in between, so 3 tomato plants there, and then something else around where the carrots are. I will figure that out. Probably it'll end up being zinnias here, but this is what I know I'm going to plant so far. So let's go ahead and get these into the bed. I'm excited for this bed because this bed in the past has always been, I don't know, kind of like a hectic mess. I don't really plan it very well, and I haven't really loved it in the past, but I think I'm going to love it this year. And now the tiny Tim tomatoes. Now, I believe the packet says a foot. Some people have said they've gotten a little bit taller when they've grown them, so we'll see. But either way, the straw flowers should be that 36 to 40 inches. And I'm thinking, like, maybe I can even put twine between some of the plants so that they can all kind of support each other. Everything is watered in, so that's it for now. Like I said, I'm going to add something kind of in between these cosmos at some point. I did also notice this growing, and I don't know what it is. It kind of looks similar to something that's poking up in my natives bed, so I'm gonna leave that and see what it is just out of curiosity. I also, when I was digging through the soil, found a tuber that was not rotten and had an eye on it. So because there was an eye, and the eye, I believe, was turning green, I wasn't just going to toss it. And I was actually shocked because usually it is too cold here in Chicago for dahlia tubers to survive. And I don't remember planting a dahlia there. So not really sure what happened, but I did pop it into a bed, and we will see if she grows or not. And the bed I popped her into is this one here, where I'm also gonna put my watermelon. And I don't know what else I'm going to put in here yet. This will probably be one of the last beds I plant up, but I put the cosmos tag here just so I remember that I did plant something, not a cosmos, but the dahlia. So yeah, I'm just intrigued to see what, if anything, happens. But I am going to put in here now the watermelon in the 2 corners. This bed I also already refreshed, but it is pretty dry because there hasn't been anything in here for me to water. So I'm gonna put in 1 watermelon in each corner. And this bed is my Epic Gardening raised bed, which is the deepest of all the beds I have. And you can actually change the depth. I have it at the deepest setting, which honestly I probably didn't need to do, but I figured I could always use more potting mix in here. But I really like that. So you can kind of customize it to however deep you want it. I also like that this one has a ledge because I do fairly often put things on here. Here are the plants that I'm left with. I have 1 cantaloupe, 2 watermelon, and 1 of the tiny tomatoes. I am, like I said, going to hold on to this cantaloupe for now. I'm also going to do the same with the watermelons because I don't know exactly where I'm going to put them yet. So I'm going to make sure these don't die. But I will be planting all of these somewhere. And the tiny tomato, I have 1 left in this tray, but I actually have 4 more total. So there's 3 in that bed that I planted. I'll put this somewhere. I think some I'm gonna take downstairs too, to the garage deck. So I'm really excited to have those. But here is what's left in my tray. Now, let me talk a little bit about how I plan to grow these. So you can grow melons vertically. That's a great way to save space in a small garden. I know people that grow them up kind of more typical trellises or even arches, which is really pretty. I don't really need to go up. I'd rather go down because if I go up, there's more wind up here. And again, I like the look of the vines trailing down. So my plan is to have it grow up and then start to grow down. Last time I did this, I don't believe, maybe I'm wrong, I don't believe any of the vines produced fruit until they hit the deck. But if they do start to produce fruit up higher, I will figure out how to support them then. So I'm not going to do any sort of trellising, but I mean, I might even just like take a plant stand or a pot and prop it up underneath. I should probably be a bit more organized, but this is in general how I garden. When it happens, I'll figure out a solution at that time. So it'll trail down, it's just going to trail along the deck, and that's going to be it. And since I am gardening on a deck, I don't have to worry as much as people growing in the ground as far as like any insects that might be in the soil that want to nibble on your plants. Now I have in the past had issues with, I think it was cucumber beetles, and at least a couple of my watermelon did die early. I got a fruit or 2 off of them, but then the viruses that the beetles like to spread took over. So we'll see how this goes. I'm hopeful that at least I'll get some fruit from it, and then we'll see. If I love it as much as I think I'm going to, or if I love it as much as I miss it, then I will keep them in the garden going forward. If not, then maybe I'll have another year without melons. That's how it's been in my garden. There are some things that I consistently don't do anymore, and there are things I consistently do every year, but then I also go back and forth on some things, just depending on how I'm feeling. So that's going to be it for today. Oh, and I will say, when I was growing watermelons not in a raised bed or cantaloupes, I was using 5-gallon grow bags, and they worked just fine. I would probably use 7-gallon now just so they don't dry out as quickly, but you can do them in grow bags or pots too. So that is everything. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.